steadily help this channel. Imagine waking up at 4 a.m. Imagine waking up at 4 a.m. one morning with the motivation to build a Roblox game. You decide to use a free template, you customize it a bit to make it your own, and go back to sleep. Just to wake up and find out your account got banned due to a code inside the free template that falsely bans you. Well, little did that kid know, this would actually change his life forever. This is the rise of Phillhood. Imagine waking Like millions of kids, Phillhood, whose real name is Kyle, didn't grow up dreaming about becoming a YouTuber. He simply wanted to play games. Born on August 6th, 2009, his earliest gaming memories came from watching his older brother. Every day, he'd watch him play games like Call of Duty, Black Ops 3, Minecraft, and a small game called Growtopia. To Kyle, his brother wasn't just good at games. He was the person he wanted to become. There was just one problem. He didn't even own a computer. At only 7 years old, the closest thing he had was the public library near his school. But thankfully, he had a library card, and thanks to it, he'd spend hours playing browser FPS games like Survive.io and Crunker, while using his mom's tablet at home to play Growtopia with his brother. It wasn't much, but for Kyle, it was everything. Even at that age, something became obvious. He wasn't just playing these games, he was getting really good at them. In Crunker, he'd regularly beat players much older than himself, slowly developing movement and aiming skills that would unknowingly become the foundation for everything that came later. For the first time, he wasn't just having fun, and he became obsessed with improving. Anyways, eventually his family moved into a new house, and now the library was gone.
Welcome to the party, let us show you how it's done.
But things finally started looking up. His parents let him use their old Windows computer, but sadly, there were strict rules. He could only use it for 2 hours a day, and because he was considered too young, gun games were completely banned. So although his older brother was allowed to play them, Kyle, or Phillhood, wasn't. Subscribe if your parents also limit your Roblox playtime, bro. Personally, my mom would block the Wi-Fi. I'd be streaming and the Wi-Fi would just go out, bro. Anyways, although the situation Phillhood was in would have stopped most kids, it didn't stop him. Instead of giving up FPS games, he found browser shooters that slipped under the radar and kept grinding away. Then one day, a friend at school introduced him to something he'd never even heard of before. The game Roblox. Curious, Phillhood downloaded it onto the family computer and created his very first account. This account was titled Drunk Seth. The name came from an inside joke in the Growtopia community involving one of the game's developers. He accidentally misspelled it because he added an extra C, but the name stuck. Moving on, like most new Roblox players, he bounced between tycoons and simulator games, until one release completely changed how he played the platform. Sid, essentially Roblox's version of Fortnite. His computer couldn't run the real Fortnite very well, so Sid became the next big thing. From that point on, Phillhood constantly switched between and Sid, sharpening the same mechanical skills across both games. Whenever he got bored, he'd stream snipe creators, challenge them to 1v1s, and beat them. And some of those creators were nearly twice his age. But despite becoming one of the best FPS players in his circles, YouTube barely crossed his mind. Sure, he admired creators like Tinkar and Project Supreme and admired how good their aim looked, but becoming a successful YouTuber? For him, that felt impossible. Still, he uploaded a few videos anyway. Raw, unedited Sid gameplay. No fancy editing, no thumbnails, no real plan. And just as you'd expect, almost nobody watched them. Eventually, around 2021 and 2022, Kyle changed his Roblox username to Y0MTU and continued improving. He entered Crunker tournaments for fun, played more Arsenal, and spent thousands of hours mastering S mechanics. But there was always one person he wanted to beat more than anyone else: his older brother. By now, his older brother had become good enough to win Fortnite Cash Cups, which meant Phillhood still had a long way to go. Then one random night, everything changed. You see, at around 4 in the morning, he suddenly got the motivation to make his own Roblox game. It wasn't anything complicated. So he grabbed a free Obly template, placed a bunch of yellow squids around the map to make it feel unique since his Roblox avatar back then used to be like a yellow squid, and he published it, and finally went to bed around 5 a.m. But guess what? When he woke up the next morning, his childhood Roblox account was gone. Hasta la vista, baby. At first, he had absolutely no idea why, so he started investigating. Eventually, he discovered the truth. The free template he downloaded contained hidden code that violated Roblox's rules. Anyone who used it got banned. It didn't matter that Phillhood had no idea it was there. It didn't matter that he hadn't written the code himself. As far as Roblox was concerned, he was guilty. He appealed over and over again, but nothing worked. Years of progress, his childhood account, everything gone. And for a while, that was enough to make him quit Roblox completely. But instead, he moved on, and his older brother upgraded to a new PC and handed down his old gaming laptop to Phillhood, giving Phillhood the chance to finally play games he'd always wanted to experience, like Valorant and Overwatch. And for the next few years, those became his main games, and Roblox slowly faded into the background. That was until 2024, because you see, after getting bored of the games he'd been grinding for years, he decided to revisit the game that had started everything. There was just one problem. He no longer had an account, or so he thought. Because you see, years earlier, before being terminated, Phillhood had become fascinated with rare Roblox usernames. Using a username generator, he created a couple of alternative accounts just in case. Most people would have forgotten that they ever existed, but he didn't. He searched through old notes, old passwords, anything that might still exist, and eventually he found it, an account named Phillhood. And without realizing it, he had just recovered the name that hundreds of thousands of people would eventually know him by. Like before, he jumped straight into FPS games like Arsenal and Phantom Forces. But then, one day, Roblox recommended a game called Rivals, and so he gave it a shot. Played for a few minutes, but guess what? He hated it. He said, "Wow, this game sucks," or at least that's what he was thinking, so he logged off. And that could have been the end of the story. But a few days later, Rivals appeared again, but this time it had grown. It had more players and more activity, so he figured, why not give it one more chance? And that single decision changed his life. The movement immediately reminded him of Crunker, a game he'd already spent years mastering, and everything suddenly clicked. Before long, he was spending hours experimenting with weapons, learning movements, and trying to improve every single day. But naturally, that wasn't enough. Phillhood wanted to compete, so he joined competitive rival Discord servers, eventually entering the largest league in the game, the Rivals Competitive League. He expected good players, and he was right. A little too right, because every clan tryout, he lost. Every tournament, he got destroyed. No matter who he played, he wasn't even close. And for a lot of people, that would have been proof they weren't good enough. But for Phillhood, it became motivation. So throughout summer break, he practically lived inside Rivals. Some days he'd practice 10 hours straight, other days 13 hours straight, screaming against the best players over and over again until every mistake disappeared. Then, one day, everything changed. Within just a couple of months, years of experience from games like Crunker, Arsenal, and Valorant finally caught up with him. The player who couldn't make a roster suddenly became one of the strongest competitors in the entire league. He started winning tournaments, winning thousands of Robux. You don't want to give me some Robux, bro? But something else started happening too. With good always comes some bad. Because you see, people couldn't believe how good Phillhood was, and accusations of cheating became almost routine. Ironically, those accusations gave him an idea. Years earlier, he'd uploaded random gameplay that nobody cared about. But this time, he wanted to do things differently. Instead of dumping raw clips online, he learned how to edit. His first Roblox montage opened with tournament staff kicking him for cheating, before immediately showing why everyone thought that. The videos weren't just gameplay anymore, they were entertainment. Week after week, he uploaded another montage, then another, and slowly, his channel began growing. A few hundred subscribers became 1,000, then 15,000. A couple of montages exploded, including his 240 HZ montage and his best Rivals player video. But something interesting kept happening. People weren't just complimenting his aim. They all wanted to know the same thing. What are your settings? How do you move like that? And instead of ignoring the questions, Phillhood saw an opportunity. He noticed most guides on YouTube were low effort, filled with recycled advice that didn't actually help players improve. So he decided to make the kind of tutorial he wished existed himself, a real movement guide. And so he uploaded it on New Year's Eve. Didn't think much of it, spent the evening with his family, went to bed, but when he woke up the next morning, his life looked completely different. The guide had gained over 30,000 views in a single day. For a creator with only 1,500 subscribers, that was unbelievable. Even more importantly, the video earned enough money to monetize his channel. And for the first time, YouTube no longer felt like a hobby. It felt possible. His aim guide exploded next, but Phillhood already knew something most creators learn too late. He couldn't build an entire career making guides forever. So despite knowing they'd probably get fewer views, he pivoted. He started creating bigger, more entertaining challenge videos with stronger stories, and at first, the numbers actually dropped, but he refused to chase short-term success. Instead, he doubled down on improving every upload. He collaborated with larger creators like TinyDude and Carful, hired thumbnail artists and editors, and obsessed over making every video better than the last. And by April of 2025, after only 7 uploads, his videos were averaging around 20,000 views. He had just crossed 10,000 subscribers, and momentum was building. But he still hadn't had the breakthrough he was waiting for. Around that time, he had 2 videos ready. One was a 1v1 against the #1 Rivals player, Slingshot Buai. The other was a video about secretly infiltrating the #1 clan. Phillhood was convinced the Slingshot Buai collaboration would become his biggest upload, but the clan video? He expected it to perform about the same as everything else. But instead, the exact opposite thing happened. The clan video exploded, over 100,000 views in its first day. It instantly became the biggest video he'd ever made and launched his entire channel into a completely different league. And almost overnight, he went from barely crossing 10,000 subscribers to gaining over 30,000 subscribers in a single month. And after that, he made one final decision. He stepped away from competitive rivals completely, not because he wasn't good enough, but because he'd found something even bigger. He poured everything into YouTube, studying storytelling, pacing, and editing with the same obsession he'd once used to master FPS games. And today, that gamble has paid off. The same kid who once had to play shooters at a public library. The same kid who lost his childhood Roblox account because of someone else's mistake now has over 250,000 subscribers. And the account that almost never existed, Phillhood, ended up becoming the name everyone remembers. Till this day, Phillhood continues to upload Rivals videos, and when he streams, averages just over 1,000 viewers, which is insane. One final fact is that I showed Phillhood a QR code, and I'm gonna tell you right now, bro was scared for his life. He knew what I was capable of and had his friend scan it instead of himself. I'm a scary man, I know. But anyways, that's all the info I could find on Phillhood for you guys. So with that being said, I hope you guys all have an excellent day. Alright, Phillhood, if you could give one piece of advice to everyone watching this video right now, what would it be?
One piece of advice I give to all of you. Sometimes things are gonna get rough. Sometimes life is hard, but that's just the way life is, and you have to push through. Before I started YouTube, I was in a really difficult time in my life, and honestly, I did not want to be here anymore. But thank God I pushed through, because I was blessed with an amazing channel with 300,000 amazing fans, and I could not be any more grateful. I'm gonna say all the cliches in this, but they're cliche for a reason. You can achieve anything in your life if you put in the work, if you put in the time. You guys gotta make your life a story, and make it a good one.
All have an excellent day. Alright, Phillhood, if you could give one piece of advice to everyone watching this video,